For many viewers, Rebecca Pritchard was never just a supporting character on Salvage Hunters. She was the steady presence that gave the show meaning. While Drew Pritchard traveled across the UK chasing rare finds and exciting deals, Rebecca was a calm voice of reason who explained why an object mattered. She had a way of looking at an old chair, a damaged cabinet, or a forgotten industrial tool and seeing its history clearly. Viewers trusted her because she never exaggerated, never rushed, and never tried to steal attention. Over time, fans came to feel that Rebecca was the heart of the show. That is why her gradual disappearance from television did not go unnoticed. People began asking questions. Why did she look different? Why was she appearing less often? And eventually, why did she leave altogether? These questions did not come from gossip or cruelty. They came from concern. Rebecca had been part of people's lives for years, appearing in their living rooms week after week. When someone so familiar changes or steps away, it naturally creates curiosity. The internet, especially social media and fan forums, began filling in the silence with theories. Some assumed illness. Others believed personal heartbreak played a role. Many felt her life had taken a sad turn, but the truth, as with most real lives, is far more complex and quieter than dramatic headlines suggest. Rebecca Pritchard did not vanish suddenly. She did not collapse under scandal or public failure. Instead, her story is one of slow change, emotional pressure, and a deliberate choice to step away from the spotlight, to understand what really happened to her. It is important to look back at where she came from long before television fame ever entered her life. Her journey did not begin on camera. It began with curiosity, discipline, and a deep respect for craftsmanship that shaped everything she would later become. Rebecca Pritchard's life before Salvage Hunters was already full of achievement. Born on February 19, 1958, in the United Kingdom, she grew up with natural interest in how things were made. Even as a young person, she paid attention to details that others often overlooked. This attention to quality later became one of her strongest traits. Before anyone recognized her from television, Rebecca spent nearly 2 decades working in the fashion industry. This was not a glamorous or easy career. It involved long hours, strict deadlines, and constant decision-making. She worked across wholesale, retail, and manufacturing, often dividing her time between the UK and Hong Kong. This experience taught her how to judge materials, understand value, and manage complex business relationships. Fashion may seem very different from antiques, but the skills she developed were remarkably similar. She learned how to spot quality quickly, how to negotiate fairly, and how to stay calm under pressure. After 20 years, Rebecca made a major life change. She moved away from fashion and into property development, focusing specifically on restoring old and historic buildings. This was not about quick profit. She cared deeply about preserving original features and respecting the history of each structure. She worked on farmhouses, townhouses, and older properties that required patience and knowledge. This work strengthened her connection to craftsmanship and history. By the late 2000s, she was already known in certain circles for her understanding of restoration and architectural detail. It was during this period that her path crossed with Drew Pritchard, an architectural antiques dealer with similar passion for old objects. Their shared interests and complementary skills created a natural partnership. At the time, neither of them could have predicted that this partnership would soon lead to a television career that would change their lives forever. When Salvage Hunters first aired in 2011 on Quest TV, it quickly stood out from other reality shows. It was quieter, more thoughtful, and focused on real expertise rather than loud drama. A big reason for this was Rebecca Pritchard. While Drew searched for antiques and negotiated prices, Rebecca handled valuations, research, and restoration advice. She did not simply explain facts. She told stories. She made viewers understand why an item was important, where it came from, and how it fit into a larger historical picture. Her calm voice and thoughtful explanations gave the show depth. She balanced Drew's energetic personality perfectly. When he returned excited about a find, Rebecca slowed the moment down and brought clarity. This balance became one of the show's greatest strengths. Viewers trusted her opinions because she never tried to impress. She spoke plainly without arrogance. Over time, her role expanded. She became just as recognizable as Drew. Fans began to see her not as a side character, but as an expert in her own right. Her credibility carried into the spin-off series Salvage Hunters, the Restorers, which focus on the people who repaired and rebuilt old items. Again, Rebecca's presence made the show feel grounded and respectful. However, the job was more demanding than it appeared. She was required to make quick, accurate decisions while cameras rolled, often without much preparation time. She also carried the responsibility of being right. A wrong valuation could damage her reputation. Combined with her work in property restoration, the pressure was constant. Still, she handled it all quietly and professionally. To viewers, she seemed unshakable. But behind the scenes, the strain was building in ways few people could see. Rebecca and Drew Pritchard were married long before Salvage Hunters became successful. They were not just a television team, but business partners and parents as well. Working together every day can be challenging for any couple, especially when work and personal life become deeply connected. Their personalities were different. Drew thrived on movement, deals, and risk. Rebecca preferred structure, planning, and calm environments. These differences made them strong professionally, but could create tension privately. For many years, they managed to keep everything working. They raised a family, built a business, and appeared on television as a united front. However, rumors began circulating in their local area about Drew's personal life. Stories of alleged affairs and public confrontations appeared in local news. One incident at a pub in North Wales gained attention and spread quickly. Rebecca never commented on these stories. She continued filming, working, and maintaining her professionalism. This silence earned her respect, but also meant she carried emotional weight privately. Eventually, the strain became too much. In 2017, Rebecca and Drew separated, and their divorce was finalized later that year. The news shocked fans because nothing on screen had changed. They continued working together after the split, showing remarkable professionalism. There were no public statements, no interviews, and no online arguments. Rebecca stayed true to her private nature. While the lack of explanation fueled speculation, many admired her dignity. Still, the emotional cost of maintaining such composure should not be underestimated. Ending a long marriage while remaining in the public eye is never easy. And this period marked the beginning of a quieter, more withdrawn phase in Rebecca's life. In the later seasons of Salvage Hunters, viewers began noticing that Rebecca Pritchard looked noticeably slimmer. The change happened gradually, but became a major topic of discussion among fans. Many expressed concern rather than judgment. Rebecca had always appeared healthy and balanced, so the transformation raised questions. Was she ill? Was stress affecting her? The show never addressed it, and neither did Rebecca. She continued to appear calm, focused, and professional. Over time, speculation increased because silence leaves room for imagination. However, there has never been any confirmed report of serious illness. No official statements, no hospital stories, nothing concrete. Some online sources have pointed to her social media presence, where she occasionally shares photos related to antiques and design. These images suggest she is active and well. Others believe the weight loss may be connected to stress from her divorce and years of public pressure. It could also simply be a result of aging and lifestyle changes. Rebecca has always been disciplined and health conscious. Without her confirmation, all theories remain guesses. What stands out most is her refusal to address rumors. In a world where many public figures rush to explain themselves, Rebecca chose silence. This choice aligns perfectly with who she has always been. She values privacy over public reassurance. For many fans, this decision deepened their respect for her. She controlled her story by refusing to let speculation define her. While concern remains, most viewers now accept that she simply changed, as all people do over time. Rebecca Pritchard did not leave Salvage Hunters with a dramatic farewell. Instead, her appearances slowly became less frequent until she was gone. When the show's official account posted a simple tribute video titled, "Goodbye, Rebecca," it confirmed what fans had already suspected. There were no detailed explanations, no special episode, and no emotional goodbye on screen. She left quietly, just as she lived. This departure sparked fresh speculation. Some believed health reasons played a role. Others felt she simply wanted a quieter life after years of scrutiny. Many thought she returned to private work in antiques and property, where she felt more comfortable. Whatever the reason, her absence changed the show. Without her calm presence, Salvage Hunters felt different. It was still interesting, but something was missing. Fans filled comment sections with appreciation and gratitude. Some created tribute videos, revisiting her best moments. Quest TV never released an official statement explaining her exit, adding to the quiet mystery. Shortly after, Drew Pritchard also announced his departure from the show, marking the end of an era. With both original figures gone, Salvage Hunters continued, but for many viewers, the early seasons with Rebecca remained the most memorable. After leaving television, Rebecca Pritchard did not disappear. She simply returned to a life that suited her better. She remains involved in the antiques world through private valuations and consulting work. Collectors and dealers still respect her expertise. She maintains a modest social media presence, sharing occasional posts about restoration projects and design. These glimpses show a woman who is still passionate about her craft but uninterested in fame. People who have met her at events describe her as friendly and approachable, with the same calm energy she had on television. Her life today may seem quiet compared to her TV years, but it does not appear sad. It appears intentional. Rebecca chose peace over publicity, control over exposure. While fans may miss seeing her on screen, her story is not one of loss, but of transition. She stepped away on her own terms. And in a world obsessed with attention, that choice speaks volumes. When people say that Rebecca Pritchard's life now feels sad, what they're often really expressing is their own sense of loss. For years, viewers watched her week after week. She became familiar, comforting, and dependable. She represented knowledge without arrogance and strength without loudness. So when she stepped away, the absence felt emotional, even if her real life did not collapse. Many fans confuse quiet living with unhappiness, especially in a media world that celebrates constant visibility. Rebecca's choice to live privately, to step away from television, and to avoid explaining herself goes against modern expectations. People are used to updates, explanations, and dramatic comebacks. Rebecca offered none of that. Instead, she chose silence, which can feel uncomfortable to audiences who feel connected to her. This discomfort is often misinterpreted as sadness. In reality, stepping away from the spotlight can be an act of self-preservation. Years of filming, public scrutiny, online comments, and personal stress can slowly drain even the strongest people. Rebecca spent more than a decade balancing professional responsibility with personal pain, all while being watched. Choosing peace over performance is not weakness. It is often wisdom. Fans who look closely at her current life see signs of contentment rather than tragedy. She still works in the field she loves. She still engages with antiques, restoration, and design. She still interacts kindly with people she meets. What she no longer does is invite strangers into her personal world. That boundary may feel sad to viewers, but it may be exactly what she needs. Her story challenges the idea that success must always be public. It reminds people that stepping back does not mean failing. It means redefining what a good life looks like. Rebecca Pritchard did not disappear because she was broken. She stepped away because she had already given enough. And sometimes the bravest thing a public figure can do is choose a life that feels right instead of one that looks impressive. Even though Rebecca Pritchard is no longer on Salvage Hunters, her influence remains deeply woven into the show's identity. The early seasons set a standard for how antiques television could be done with respect, patience, and intelligence. Rebecca helped shape that standard. She showed that expertise does not need to be loud or dramatic to be engaging. She explained history in a way that felt human, not academic. Many viewers credit her with sparking their interest in antiques, restoration, and preservation. Some even say she changed how they looked at old objects, helping them see value beyond money. Within the industry, her reputation remains strong. She is known as someone who values accuracy, ethics, and craftsmanship. Unlike many television personalities who fade once the cameras stop rolling, Rebecca's credibility existed long before TV and continues after it. That is a rare achievement. Her legacy is not built on controversy or fame, but on trust. trust from viewers, colleagues, and professionals alike. She proved that it is possible to be respected without constantly seeking attention. For future presenters and experts, her career serves as a quiet lesson. Television can open doors, but it does not need to define a person's entire life. Rebecca used a platform, contributed meaningfully, and then walked away when it no longer served her well-being. That decision alone has earned her lasting admiration from many fans who now understand her choice more clearly with time. Her legacy is not about where she went, but about what she represented while she was there. Rebecca Pritchard's story is often misunderstood because it does not follow the usual celebrity path. There was no public breakdown, no dramatic confession, and no loud comeback. Instead, there was a slow transition into privacy. In today's world, that can feel unsettling. People expect answers. They expect explanations. But Rebecca never owed anyone her personal story. She gave viewers knowledge, honesty, and years of dedication. When that chapter ended, she closed it quietly. Her life today may not look exciting from the outside, but it appears balanced, intentional, and peaceful. And that is something many people secretly want for themselves. The idea that her life is sad says more about society's obsession with visibility than about her reality. Rebecca Pritchard did not lose herself after Salvage Hunters. She reclaimed herself. And in doing so, she left behind a powerful reminder that success is not always about staying seen. Sometimes it is about knowing when to step away. Fame does not always arrive loudly, and it does not always leave obvious damage behind. Sometimes it changes people slowly, in ways that are hard to see from the outside. Rebecca Pritchard's experience with fame fits this pattern. When Salvage Hunters began, she did not chase recognition or attention. Television came to her because of her knowledge and professionalism, not because she wanted to be a public figure. At first, fame felt manageable. The show was respected, the audience was loyal, and the focus remained on antiques rather than personalities. But as the years passed, expectations grew. Fans wanted updates. Online discussions analyzed her appearance, her marriage, and her private life. Even silence became a topic. For someone like Rebecca, who valued privacy and structure, this attention could feel intrusive. Fame slowly removes control. People begin to feel entitled to explanations, to personal details, and to emotional access. Rebecca never invited that kind of closeness, but it came anyway. Over time, constantly being observed can feel exhausting. Every change becomes a question. Every absence becomes a rumor. For many public figures, this pressure leads to dramatic exits or public statements. Rebecca chose a different path. She reduced her visibility gradually, allowing distance to grow naturally. This approach reflects her personality. She does not rush decisions or create drama. She steps back carefully. Her story highlights an important truth about fame. Not everyone is meant to live under constant observation. Some people shine best when they can focus quietly on their work. Rebecca's withdrawal from television was not a failure to cope. It was a recognition of her limits. And recognizing limits is a form of strength. By choosing a quieter life, she protected her sense of self from being shaped entirely by public opinion. This choice may disappoint fans who wanted more access, but allowed Rebecca to remain authentic. In the end, she did not let fame define who she was or what she deserved from life. Rebecca Pritchard's journey offers a lesson that many people overlook. Success does not have one shape. It does not always mean staying visible, earning more attention, or remaining in the spotlight for as long as possible. For Rebecca, success meant doing meaningful work, maintaining integrity, and stepping away when the cost became too high. Many viewers relate to this more than they realize. People everywhere face moments where they must choose between public approval and personal peace. Rebecca's decision mirrors that struggle on a larger scale. She reminds audiences that it is okay to change direction, even after building something successful. It is okay to leave a role that no longer fits. Her life after television may seem less exciting, but appears more aligned with her values. She continues to work in antiques quietly, helping others behind the scenes, without cameras or applause. That kind of fulfillment is often deeper than fame. For fans, accepting this truth can be difficult. Watching someone step away feels like losing a familiar presence, but it can also be inspiring. Rebecca showed that you do not need to explain every decision to the world. You can live well without constant validation. Her story encourages viewers to rethink what happiness looks like. Is it being seen or being content? Is it attention or balance? Rebecca's choices suggest that peace, purpose, and privacy can matter more than public success. And that lesson may be her most lasting contribution, even more than her years on television. Today, Rebecca Pritchard lived a life that reflects intention rather than reaction. She does not appear to be running away from her past, nor does she seem trapped by it. Instead, she carries her experience quietly and continues forward. Those who meet her describe someone who remains thoughtful, knowledgeable, and kind. She still values history, craftsmanship, and authenticity. She simply no longer shares these passions with a mass audience. And that choice deserves respect. Her story may not end with dramatic reveal or emotional reunion, but ends with something rarer: dignity. In a world that constantly asks for more, Rebecca chose enough. Enough attention, enough explanation, enough noise. Her life now may not look exciting from the outside, but it appears stable, meaningful, and self-directed. For fans who miss her presence on Salvage Hunters, the best way to honor her legacy is to understand her choice, not mourn it. Rebecca Pritchard did not disappear. She evolved. And sometimes that is the most honest ending a story can have. One reason Rebecca Pritchard's absence from television felt so emotional to fans is because she never behaved like a typical TV personality. She did not seek attention, exaggerate reactions, or try to become the center of the show. Instead, she felt real. Viewers saw her as someone they could trust, someone who represented knowledge rather than ego. Over time, this created a quiet bond between Rebecca and the audience. People felt like they knew her, even though she shared very little about her private life. This kind of connection is powerful because it feels genuine. When someone like that steps away, it can feel personal, even if the viewer never met her. Many fans had watched Salvage Hunters during calm moments in their lives, evenings after work, weekends at home, or family time. Rebecca's voice became part of those routines. So when she began appearing less, it felt like something familiar was missing. This emotional response is not really about Rebecca's life being sad. It is about the audience processing change. Humans naturally resist endings, especially quiet ones without explanation. Because Rebecca did not announce her departure loudly or share personal reasons, viewers were left to imagine what happened. And imagination often turns toward worry. People assume the worst because it gives meaning to the loss. But in truth, Rebecca simply chose a different pace. She did not break down. She did not disappear into isolation. She continued her work quietly. The sadness people feel says more about how much they valued her presence than about her actual well-being. It highlights how deeply viewers can connect to someone who remains authentic. Rebecca never asked for that connection, but she earned it through consistency, calmness, and respect for her craft. That is why her story still matters to so many people today. Modern media often teaches people to expect drama. When public figures face challenges, audiences expect statements, interviews, or emotional confessions. Rebecca Pritchard offered none of that. And in doing so, she challenged the idea that personal struggle must be shared publicly to be valid. Her strength showed itself in silence, which is much harder to maintain than speaking out. Remaining quiet does not mean avoiding reality. It means choosing not to perform pain for others. Rebecca endured a public divorce, intense speculation about her health, and years of scrutiny without reacting emotionally in public. That level of restraint requires discipline and self-awareness. Many people underestimate how difficult it is to stay composed while being judged. Rebecca's approach showed maturity. She understood that not every story belongs to the public, even if the public feels invested. This quiet strength is often mistaken for weakness because it does not demand attention, but in reality, it reflects deep inner balance. By refusing to engage with rumors or defend herself, Rebecca controlled the narrative by not feeding it. Over time, the noise faded. What remained was respect. Her story reminds people that you do not need to explain yourself to maintain dignity. Sometimes, walking away calmly sends a stronger message than any statement ever could. In a world full of loud reactions, Rebecca's restraint stands out as rare and powerful. Although Rebecca Pritchard may no longer appear on television, her impact on British factual TV remains significant. Salvage Hunters helped shape a genre that focused on knowledge, craftsmanship, and real-world expertise rather than manufactured drama. Rebecca was central to that tone. She proved that audiences are willing to listen to thoughtful explanations and appreciate calm storytelling. Her presence helped make antiques television accessible to people who might never have been interested otherwise. She brought warmth and credibility to a niche subject. Many later shows borrowed elements from Salvage Hunters, but few matched the balance that Rebecca helped create. Her contribution often goes understated because she never promoted herself. But without her, the show would not have felt the same. She helped normalize the idea that experts can be relatable, that intelligence does not need performance. In that sense, her role was quietly revolutionary. She raised the standard for what viewers expect from educational television. Even after leaving the screen, her influence continues in how such shows are produced and received. Rebecca Pritchard may not seek recognition, but her legacy remains firmly in place. The idea that Rebecca Pritchard's life today is sad comes mostly from misunderstanding rather than truth. In modern culture, people often judge happiness by visibility. If someone is no longer on television, no longer active online, and no longer sharing updates, many assume something must be wrong. But silence does not mean sadness. For Rebecca, stepping away from public life may have been a relief rather than a loss. Her years on Salvage Hunters brought success, but they also brought pressure, scrutiny, and unwanted attention. When that chapter ended, she gained something valuable: control over her time and privacy. That kind of freedom is difficult to measure, but deeply meaningful. Rebecca's current life appears calm, structured, and purposeful. She continues to work with antiques in quieter ways, supporting projects without cameras involved. She spends time focusing on research, valuation, and behind-the-scenes work that suits her skills and personality. There is no evidence of hardship or isolation. The sadness many viewers project onto her story comes from their own sense of loss. They miss her presence on screen, so they assume she must miss it too. But not everyone finds fulfillment in public recognition. Some people thrive when they are free from performance. Rebecca's life now seems shaped by choice rather than circumstance. She did not fade away because she could not cope. She stepped back because she wanted something different. Calling that sad overlooks the courage it takes to walk away from success. True sadness often comes from living a life that does not fit who you are. By choosing a quieter path, Rebecca may have avoided that fate. Her story challenges audiences to rethink what happiness looks like. It reminds people that peace, stability, and privacy can be just as fulfilling as fame, if not more. There's an important difference between what feels like a loss to the public and what feels right to the individual. For viewers, Rebecca Pritchard's reduced presence created a gap. She was part of a familiar rhythm, and when that rhythm changed, it felt uncomfortable. But discomfort does not equal tragedy. Rebecca's personal fulfillment does not depend on audience satisfaction. Her life belongs to her, not to the viewers who enjoyed watching her work. Understanding this difference is essential. Public figures often feel pressure to remain visible for the sake of others, even when it no longer serves them.